Hey ladies, and gentlemen, this is Belinda, and I'm back with Willow, Birch, and Clover. We're at the next step of our journal making process, and today I have to work this afternoon, so I'm going to try to move a little quickly. We're going to put the spine on the book, and the covers, and the ties, and then when we finish that, we'll be ready to, the next video, we'll begin decorating inside. That may be 1 or 2 videos. And on that last decorating video, we will decorate the cover. I like to wait until last to embellish the cover. So, what do you need for this? The first thing you're going to need is you're going to need 3 sheets of 110-pound copy paper. It was just like this when I started. And I cut it right down the middle. If you're using a paper cutter, that is at 5.5 inches. So that now the pieces are 5.5 by 8.5. You're going to do 3 pieces of 110-pound cardstock that way. And you're going to make 2 separate stacks with 3 each. And we're going to glue those together. I chose this for the cover because there are a lot of people who are beginning to make junk journals that don't have like the chipboard, you know, those are supplies that they haven't gotten yet. You can certainly use a cereal box and you won't have to layer. I'm just using something that a beginning junk journal maker would probably have on hand. And I know that cardstock is one of those things. If you don't have it, and I'm just using my Fabri-Tac glue to attach it, and I'm gluing all over. If you don't have cardstock, you can go to Walmart. Dollar General has it sometimes in smaller packs. The better value is at Walmart. Office supply stores carry it, and sometimes you can get it on sale. I like the 110-pound paper cardstock, and I get the bright white. And I do that in case I print on it. I want my print to show up really pretty, and the bright white does that for you. Same thing with your 20-pound copy paper that you'll be using on the inside of your book that we've already talked about. I get the bright white 20-pound so that my prints will show up on them vividly. That's what I want. You can make it look grungy with inks and things after you print it, but you know, you can't make a better print quality after you print it. So I recommend using the bright white. All right, this is sheet 2 in the second stack. 1 more. Now, for the next step, after I glue this, you're going to need what I refer to as brown wrapping paper. And I'm going to show that to you. I go to the Dollar Tree and I buy their rolls of brown craft wrapping paper that is found in their shipping section. It's the kind of paper that you would use to wrap mail packages for shipping. I want to make sure these are pretty well lined up, so let me try to slide that one down while the glue's still wet. There we go. That's better. All right, so here's our 2 stacks, 3 and 3, glued together. Now, I want to show you what I'm talking about when I say the brown wrapping paper. It's this. It's a long tube of, and it's not very thick. Like I said, it's in the shipping section of Dollar Tree, and you can get a roll for $1.25, and you can do a ton of things with it. So I highly recommend that you pick some up. Now, what I did was I cut a piece. I don't have a measurement on this, but I'll measure it for you. But let me tell you, this piece we know is 8.5 by 5.5. You want this piece, I'll show you when I lay it down, and it doesn't matter if you go a little bit too big. You just don't want to be too small. You want it to be a little bit larger than your piece. So I would say go 6.5 this way, and 9.5 this way, to be sure that you have enough, okay, on your piece that you're cutting off. My piece it's going to be a little smaller than that, I bet. Nope, mine's a little bigger. Mine's 10, so that may be what you want to do, 10. And this one is 7.5. So I gave myself a little more room. And so you do that too. It's easier. I eyeball it, so, but you can certainly measure. Now you want to put glue all over the back side, whichever one you choose for the back side. It's not going to matter because they're going to be covered, okay? And I take my paper, hold it out with my hands, and I want to put it down so that I've got that border all the way around so that I can wrap, okay? Kind of straightening it up here, just like that. See, I left some all the way around. And like I said, I did 10. You could do 10.5. And this was 7.5. So 10.5 by 7.5. If you need a measurement, that'll give you plenty. You can trim down if it's too much for you to work with. Okay? So, same thing. And I'm going to get as far as I can constructing this cover today. Like I said, I have to go to work. It's going to depend if I boo-boo and have to start over on these videos. I hope not. I hope we can completely finish it. If not, I'll make another video tonight when I get home from work and we'll finish it. But I'm trying to finish these videos as quickly as I can so that you have time to make this journal. Like I said, it can really be done in an afternoon if you will sit down and do it. You know, so that for Mother's Day, if you want to give it, but you can certainly give it at any time. Now, for my corners, I start right here. I go in and up. I don't quite go all the way to my corner. And I do that on all 4 corners of the cover paper, in and up. I'm kind of, you can even do kind of like a little circle like that, like a little in and out half circle there. All right. And then I'm going to take my glue and right here on all of this paper, I'm going to put a good little amount. I want it to hold. This is the cover after all. So, and I will start with my side pieces, pushing in until it butts up tight against the cardboard that you just glued down. And that's 3 pieces of 5.5 by 8.5. Again, you just cut 3 pieces of cardstock in half, and of 8.5 by 11, and then you glued 3 pieces to a stack. All right, so we've got this. Okay, that's still going to be covered, so it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want it wrapped. That's one. Let's do the other. Okay. In and up. I start just this side going in, and I make the turn right at the corner and then kind of go out at an angle, if you can see that. Makes a nice little wrap on the corners that you won't have to fidget with too much to make it look good. You can use the thicker rolls of shipping paper. Walmart's got some thicker rolls. They've got the thin and the thick. I like the thin because you can work with it better. The thick, it's just like thick craft cardstock. It takes a minute for any glue to catch, even Fabri-Tac. So you have to sit there and hold it and burnish, and then after a couple of minutes you may have pieces loosen. So I kind of stick with the thin so that I know it's gonna hold down. Now, pulling tightly all the way down and pushing up after I lay it down so that it's tight against the cover. I'm wrapping. I don't know what all these strings, and that is a piece of my hair, sorry. I'm shedding, clearly. All right, I'm going up. And then on this side, I'm going up. Okay. These are our first 2 pieces. Now, before we do anything else, we're going to go ahead and hinge these 2 pieces to our book block. So get your book block. All right, don't panic. You know, it's a process. What I have done for my hinges, I took the piece of 20-pound copy paper that I printed this green design on front and back. The thinner paper, not the cardstock. The 20-pound copy paper. It's one of the ones I had you print. And I cut a strip that was 1.5 inches wide. This is 1.5 inches. I just want a slightly larger hinge on my covers. Then I folded it in half and burnished, and I inked around my edges. And that's how I got this hinge, okay? Now, our covers, I want you to kind of look at it for placement, and you can see it's still going to be covered here. There's going to be fabric over it. So it's going to be just about the size of your top sheet there, just a little bit bigger. And that's okay. But again, we're going to the edge on the spine side with this one. We don't want to extend over the edge, okay? I'm liking how that looks. So we're going to take our hinge with the ink side on the folded inside. It's going to be your valley side is what you want to ink, if you ink, because that's what's going to show. And then I'm going to apply glue. And remember, this was cut just down the middle, so the height hasn't been adjusted. This hinge done on copy paper with the white edges trimmed off around it should be slightly shorter. It doesn't matter if it's the exact length, but I do like this just a hair shorter. You can see it. And the height of this hinge is, after I cut my white edges off, the height of that hinge is 8 1/8. So 8 would be fine, okay? And I'm burnishing. And now I want to put my glue on this side of the hinge. And I chose to use the green paper because I just like the color. That's why I did it, okay? And I'm laying it up there, doing that, okay? This is how our book will open. And the cover is hinged to it. All right, now I'm flipping it over, and I'm going to do the same thing back here, okay? We ended with the shorter page back here, just like we started with in the front. So this should be the right length of that shorter page I trimmed because of cutting the white edges off of my papers that I printed. If you don't have the white edge, you know, your papers won't be smaller. They'll be bigger, so you won't have to worry about the length of the hinges and things. Go all the way to the edge. Butting this hinge to the spine. Okay, good deal. All right, now, glue on the hinge. And at this point, I kind of want to pick it up and look at it. I want to make sure my front cover and my back cover are kind of lined up. I can do that by standing my book up and pressing down slightly. And that looks good. Okay, so now you have the front cover on and the back cover on. And I'm going to give this just a second to dry before we move on. There's a couple of things we can be doing. Now, on the book that I made to show you, I used this lighter color fabric for the tie. And as you can see on the spine, I have a darker muslin or a darker tea stain, whatever you choose to use. And this is the darker on the cover. So I think this time I'm going to make the ties out of a darker color fabric. And as you can see, I rip my fabric. I don't cut it. You can certainly cut it. I just like that look. That's a personal choice. This strip of fabric, I'm going to measure it for you, is 2 1/4 wide, and it is almost, we'll say 12 3/4 long. Okay, 12 3/4 long. So what I did was I made a little snip in the end. I'm sorry, I'm not in center. See the little snip? And now I'm just going to rip. These will be my tie closures. Okay, now's the time we're going to glue these down. That's why I'm going ahead and doing this. We're going to get this part out of the way because this is going to even be covered, you know. So we want to go ahead and get our ties down. If you have crazy strings like I have here, I want to go ahead and do that. All right, what I'm going to do is just right here, kind of on the center, on the side that opens, a little bit, like a little rectangle of glue there that will hold my tie. And I'm going to take the piece, make sure it's flat out, and press it down. You won't see this, so don't worry if fabric glue comes through. You won't see it, okay? I just want to make sure it grabs it. Now, I'm going to turn over. A good way to judge is to pull this string around the back so you can see it. I know my next one needs to go right there. So, blob of glue. Not really a blob, I'm spreading it out a little bit. And I'm going to take that tie and put it down too. If your ends aren't even, you can snip them. It's no big deal. Okay. There's that. All right. Now, what we need to do now, this step, is we're going to cover this, the inside of our book cover. Now, if you do this first, your green hinge will show because it's lying on top. When we cover this, there will be a peak of green. That's what I want this time, so that's how I'm going to do it. And this is cut, remember this piece is 8.5 by 5.5. So I think for this inside book cover page, I'm going to go 5 wide and 8 1/4 long. Okay? Now, what do I want to cover it with? Let me look at my papers that we have printed that I haven't used yet right quick. And I think this is what I used on the last one, so I'll use it on this one. I took a 20-pound sheet of copy paper. This is one of those printed front to back, and it is, that's it, 20-pound copy paper. Okay. With the brown mottled design. I call it mottled because it's got all those splashes on there that I made with Photoshop. It's a wonderful thing. All right, and as you can see, I didn't cut close enough here. I left a little white edge, so that's just going to be the piece I cut off because, let me move this so you can see me cut. The first cut I'm going to make, I'm going to turn it lengthwise. I'll work from this end. And I said 8 1/4, so I'm moving it down to 8 1/4, so it will be that tall when it's turned. And I'm going to cut, and that's pretty much, well, that's what I cut off. All right, when I trim my edges off, it's apparently 1/4 inch. All right, now we're going to go back, and across the top, I want 2 5-inch. So that is 1 at 5-inch. And this is 2 at 5-inch. We're going to have a little strip left. Don't throw that away. You might want it for something later. And then I'm going to ink around my edges quickly here. And you can use any color inking. We haven't really discussed the inking. You know, I've already cut out all of my ephemera pieces from the pack that I used. I suggest you do the same from whatever pack you've used, or if you've got scrapbooking paper and you have ephemera you want to use with it, cut them out, get them ready. You're going to, I inked around all of my edges. You don't have to do that. Some people don't like the really grungy look. I use, this is walnut stain. You can use Vintage Photo. They have one that is lighter. I can't think of the name of it. And if any of you know, it's some kind of burlap, maybe that's the color. It's barely there, but it does cover the white. But like I said, if any of you watching have that and know the color, please comment below. It would help those out that are looking for a stain color. Okay? Let me move all this out of the way. I have a mess today. I'm so sorry. All right, so this piece is going to be glued down just like this. Okay, just like that. I'm going to put the glue on the back of this though, because I'm not sure how I'll place it down. I may have to slide it, and I don't want to put glue on the inside of that cover yet. So on the back of this, around the edges, sometimes I get too close to the edge, but you can wipe that off. I'll just do a crazy little sprinkle glue, because this is Fabri-Tac. It's going to smush out when I push it down, spread out, I guess I should say. And it's going to dry pretty quickly, so I've got to move fast. Now, I'm hoping you can see this. You are in frame. I just checked. And I'm just going to put this down just like this and press. All right. That's the inside of our book cover. Okay. Moving right along. We're going to go back here to the back. And we're going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to take this piece that I just inked, and I'm going to put glue on the back. There's that white edge. Yeah, we won't see it anyway. It's going to be on the back side. And I did ink on the front. Okay, like this. We're not far from completing the cover and wrapping the spine. It's a pretty simple process from here on out. All right. I should have had these cut before I started the video. I'm sorry I didn't. And what I want to do is I want to kind of reference my front cover quickly to see how much space I left at the bottom and top, and make sure I'm pretty close, and I am. So I'm just going to push that down. Yeah. I'm going to leave it. There's a little more space on the outside than there is here, but I can live with that. All right, so here we are to this. All right, now the next step that you want to do before we put the top piece on your cover is we want to wrap the spine. And this piece I have here, I'm going to measure it for you. This is fabric that I ripped. It is the darker fabric. What in the world did I do with my ruler? Here it is. All right, this piece is 3 inches wide, and it is 14.5 inches long, but don't go by that yet, because we're about to tear some of that off. So 3 inches wide, and if you want it to stick up a little past your book, you can go a little past when you're looking here, and I kind of like that. So I'm going to go just a hair, like less than 1/4 inch. I'm going to make my snip here, and then I'll measure it for you. So 3 inches wide, and about 9 1/4. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to hold my book up, and I just want to look. We're going to be wrapping this spine like this. Okay, I'm going to kind of get a mental picture of how far up this glue needs to go so that it is equal on both the front and the back. See, this is not as far around, so I'm going to pull it just a little. Okay, once you get one side, the other one will go automatically because it can only pull so far. All right, I'm going to say right there on my front, which that won't really matter because this is going to be covered too, but just for the spine purpose, you know, the way the fabric will lay when the book is opened, I'm trying to keep it balanced between the front and back. I'm going to make a wiggle of glue here. Okay. And I am going to spread this with my finger. I hate doing that, but I really don't like glue globs coming through fabric. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over. Push the book block down. You're out of screen. I'll make sure this one is on screen. All right, so I've got this held up here. I can see about how far I want the glue. I did this exact same thing on the other side. I think I was out of frame. So this is exactly it. The wiggle. Okay. I'm going to take my finger and spread the glue because I don't want globs. All right. Now, I'm going to press down on the book block just a little and stretch that fabric over it and begin to rub. Thank goodness Fabri-Tac dries quickly, so it'll hold. Now, I don't even know if I'm front or back right now. That's back. Okay, so let me flip it over. This is front. This side got a little irregular, but that's okay. I'm going to trim trim this off some with my, I've decided, if you decide you want to trim off some, trust me, this fabric will ravel back out. It's that cotton fabric. That's how you can trim your spine. Did you watch me do it? A snip to the back, come to the back side, snip to the back, and then snip off right there in the center. Okay, now, I change my mind all the time, sorry. Okay, now, for the next piece of the spine, I have a piece of the lightest fabric that I used, and you can use any piece of fabric that you want. This piece of fabric measures 3 wide, and it's about 4 inches high, okay? So I'm going to place this fabric at the bottom of the book to line up. Let me make sure I'm on the front, because I would be lining up on the top and not the bottom. Okay, yeah, and wrap it around. It won't matter if it lines up perfectly right here like mine does. I'm just going to put a little thin thing of glue. It won't matter if it seeps through a little bit. This is going to be covered, okay? I just don't like the gobs of glue on this piece because it just seems like it takes it forever to dry. So that's why I spread that out, to get a nice, even, quick adhesion. All right. It will dry faster if you spread it with your finger, and it will dry smoother without being able to see it through the fabric, but that's not really a thing right here. So this is, you know, it doesn't have to be quite as speedy drying. All right, now I have a piece of lace that I cut that is just smaller than this. So I'm gonna say 3 inches wide and 3 3/4 inches long will be fine. You can do it like this to see, and that's a little wide, so I am gonna trim that. I don't want that excess. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to put glue here on the back of the fabric that's here and on the back of the book. And I am going to take my finger and spread it out. That's kind of important here. We want this lace to catch, and we want it to dry quickly. I know I'm laying it down, but I'm trying to move here. All right, let's get it in frame. There, sorry. I told you I'm shedding. All right, there, there. Now, I feel good about that. We got it down pretty quickly, and it's wrapped around the spine. And what this makes is, or what it's going to make, is this little section right here that is on the book. Okay, for the last thing to go on the spine, and I'm going to set this out of the way for just a minute because I see one piece, oh, and I see 2 pieces. I have brown cardstock. It's about 110 pounds. It's the lighter craft. It's not the heavy craft, but you can use that if you want. It would be perfect for this. 1 piece is all you're going to need because it was like this, okay? 1 piece. Now, I cut it at 5 inches and 5 inches. That discarded this piece. So I've got 2 little 5-inch wide pieces, all right? On the length of the pieces, I turned it lengthwise, and I cut at 8 1/4. So this piece is 5 inches wide and 8 1/4 inches long, okay? Just like that. Now, for this, I'm going to need, I chose to use my medium colored fabric, and I'm going to show you exactly how I got these pieces, and it is very quick because I have one started over here, so let me see. All right, I'm going to turn it this way because it seems to be wide enough. I have this little section of my fabric sticking out. I'm going to lay this right here, and I'm going to give myself, I'm just guesstimating. Let me move this up a little bit so you can see. All right, about, I would say about 1/4 inch all the way around this piece of fabric. So I'm going to snip this right below the fabric, okay? And I'm going to tear until I get even with where this came down. If I had not already had this piece started, I would have made a snip here and torn until they met, okay? So I'm gonna come on just a little bit, and now I can tear down to it. This is my piece. And I'm gonna look at that. It may be too wide. That's okay if it is. We'll make it, we'll manage, okay? All right, that's one piece. Yeah, that's gonna be a little wide. That's okay, that's a good bit wide, but we'll use this fabric somewhere else, trust me. Make that snip, rip, okay. I want this piece of fabric just slightly larger. Let me lay this down here. And that's good. That's where I want it, okay? Right there, that looks good. All right, I'm going to use this piece of fabric now to make another. So I will lay my fabric back up here. Take my piece of fabric that I'm satisfied with. I will make a snip at the bottom. I will make a snip at the top. And they don't have to be perfect because we can trim them down from here. But I'm gonna rip, and then I'm gonna rip down to it. And there's my second piece. That's what gives me that unfinished edge on the fabric, and I love that. Okay, we're close, guys. We're almost done with this video, so just hang on with me. Let me lay this up here. That's a little long, so I'm gonna go, I'm gonna snip here. When you're tearing, it's not exact, and you will have to look at it and trim a little bit, but if you love that look, there's no replacement, and you'll take the time to do it, trust me. Snip here, snip here. Let's see if I can get my fingers on this. Yep, same thing here. Okay, now that looks more like right. All right, so in my mind, I'm going to tell myself that I am working on, and do this to keep it straight, the front cover. And I'll show you why. When we glue this fabric, we're going to move it slightly closer to what will be the spine side, because we don't want all that overhang, just slightly. There we go. It will have a little more overhang here off of the piece we're about to glue it to. So keep in mind, this is your spine side. See it? The book opens this way, spine side. Flip it back over, and that's the side. In this case, it will be the right side over here that this needs to be glued slightly closer to, but not much. Okay, good. I hope I'm making sense. Now look, I'm expecting questions because I'm just kind of talking my way through this, and I know I don't have detailed instructions. It's okay to ask questions. You can say, you are confusing the bejesus out of me, and we'll straighten it out, make another video, or do what we have to do. All right, now there's not much of a difference, but I'm going to hold it up close so you can see it. It's slightly more fabric here than it is on this side. You can do that. You can eyeball that. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to take my book, double checking again to make sure this is my front cover, and I'm going to put glue all over the back of this piece of brown cardstock. Maybe if I had used the darker brown cardstock or the darker fabric here, you could see it better, but I'm trying, guys. I'm just trying to give you the look. Like this. Okay. And now this is where your little strap piece gets covered up. So make sure it's laying down pretty good. Flip it over. And do the fabric with its overhang. See, it's going to be kind of even with the spine. And push down. And we are probably going to come back and do a little more gluing right here on the edge. I'm just going to make sure. Now, since this brown cardstock that we put the fabric on is slightly smaller than our cover, now I want you to get a little glue on your finger because you don't really want to gob it here. And you're going to spread right here, or you can squirt it on and spread on the exposed part of the cover so that your fabric will tack down to it without being too wet. Okay? And that's what keeps your fabric laying that way. And now it is adhered all the way out to the edge of this, and you have a little overhang. Can you see it there? That's how you would hear it. I see my bottom moving up a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing down here. Glue and just tack down. It doesn't even have to be all the way across. I just want to make sure my cover doesn't pull up. Okay, same thing up here now. Just thin here. And spread with your finger. And lay the fabric down so that it doesn't move. All right, that's the front. We're going to do the exact same thing for the back. Okay? All these strings I know are going to kill you, but it's what makes a great shabby looking journal. All right, for this one, let me grab my piece of fabric. Because it's the back of the book, this is the spine side. Okay, I'm going to have to trim this down just a little bit more. I don't like that. That's a little bit too long. So let me move this up so you can see what I did. Right here on the bottom, I grabbed it, pulled. All right, that makes it a little bit narrower. I like that. And let me check it on length. I think it's still just a tad long. And you can always double check it with your cover that you have on the front. And I'm going to do that. Nope, that's about right. I'm glad I didn't cut it. Okay, so take your cardboard piece, glue all over. Now, the back of my journal is not decorated. I left it plain. So when I'm doing this, since this is going to be, we'll show through this fabric, I'm going to spread this glue a little bit so that it's not quite so gobby. Okay? And we're going to the spine side, which will be this side, closer to it with a little more overhang on the other side, and I'm just going to lay it down. Eyeballing on this really does work. Close enough anyway. It's a shabby chic journal. It's kind of grungy. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now, glue all over this back again. You don't have to worry about spreading this because this is going to be glued down on that back cover that we've already covered in the brown craft paper. And it's not going to show through. All right? So, let me get my book. And I had it right. This upside down on me. This is my inside of my back cover. So again, make sure that is lying down flat. Look at your piece. This has less fabric on that side, so that's your spine side. And you're going to butt it up against your spine. I think I have something on this fabric, and if I do, that's okay. I'll put something on my back cover to cover it, but it looks like something pink on that fabric. I don't know. I'm sure my grandchild helped me with that. But we'll cover it, don't worry. There's not any on the front. All right, so if you don't have anything on your back, at this point, you could be finished with your back cover. I don't like the way this is sitting. I am going to pull this over a little bit. And if I put a little more glue, that way, if it doesn't move much, it'll grab it, okay? Now, that's lined up. This is lined up. You have this on your spine, and when we embellish, we will put your buttons, okay? Then you have the inside covers. The covers are on and hinged, and you have the inside cover. All right, that's it for this one. Another 38-minute video. Sorry, guys. Our next videos, I'm probably going to break them up into two, so it won't be so long. We'll begin embellishing, and then the last thing we'll do will be the cover and the buttons on the spine. Thanks for watching. Follow along. Go back and review the videos if you need to catch up to this point. I think I cover everything from printing to what paperweight I use to my paper pack I chose. Lots of things. So I would start with video 1 if you're just joining us, and move up to here. If there's any questions on this cover, I know I may have gotten out of camera frame once or twice. I can demonstrate something again. I'm happy to answer any questions. Just let me know, and I appreciate you. Thanks. Bye-bye.